Psychology often paints a very different picture of people who have few or no friends compared to what society assumes. Most of the time, these individuals are not broken, antisocial, or socially incapable. In fact, many of them possess traits that are deeper, sharper, and far more self-aware than average. Their solitude isn't a sign of failure, it's a reflection of how their mind works. For many, social life doesn't feel like a necessity. It feels like a space filled with noise, pressure, and expectations that drain more energy than they give. And when someone lives long stretches of life without close friendships, psychology does not label them as defective. It recognizes several powerful reasons behind this pattern. One of the strongest psychological explanations is this: they have zero tolerance for inauthenticity. If you've ever struggled to maintain friendships, chances are you can sense fake personalities instantly. You can spot the smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the compliment that hides competition, the friendship that is more about convenience than connection. People who wear masks, who gossip, who switch sides depending on who's in the room. Your mind rejects these environments before you even consciously realize it. As people become more self-aware, research shows that their threshold for fake or shallow behavior drops dramatically. You'd rather sit alone in silence than stay in a circle filled with pretending, performing, and emotional politics. Most social groups, if we're being honest, are held together by surface-level interactions, people who say one thing in public and another in private, and your brain picks up on those contradictions immediately. That's not antisocial behavior. It's intuition. It's self-protection. You keep your circle small not because you cannot connect, but because you refuse to waste emotional energy on relationships built on anything less than truth. Another psychological factor is the preference for depth over quantity. People who live with few friends often crave conversations that go beyond the surface. They aren't avoiding relationships, they're avoiding shallow ones. They want to talk about what drives people, why they behave the way they do, what makes life meaningful, where dreams come from, how emotions shape our choices. They want honesty, vulnerability, growth. They want to feel something when they talk to someone. And because these kinds of conversations are rare, they'd rather stay alone than sit through another empty talk about weather, gossip, or the latest trend everyone pretends to care about. For them, small talk isn't just boring, it's draining. Their brain is wired to think deeply and analyze, not to skim the surface. And this deeper thinking pattern makes them more selective. They don't build 10 friendships, they build one meaningful connection, and for them, that is enough. Psychology recognizes this trait as the pursuit of high-quality social bonds rather than the accumulation of acquaintances. A third psychological explanation is something known as high social sensitivity. Some people simply burn more mental energy in social environments. While extroverts walk away from a gathering feeling charged and alive, highly sensitive individuals walk away feeling exhausted, even if they enjoyed the interaction. Their brain processes facial expressions, emotional cues, tone shifts, and environmental changes more intensely. They notice the tension that others overlook, the discomfort someone is hiding, the shift in atmosphere at the table. They analyze conversations in layers, subconsciously picking up details that others ignore. And this depth of processing comes at a biological cost. After social events, they need solitude, not because they dislike people, but because their mind needs time to reset. For them, social energy is a limited resource. They can't endlessly socialize without emotional burnout. So they conserve their energy, spending it only where it feels meaningful, safe, and emotionally worth it. Also, independence plays a massive role. Many people with no friends are not lonely, they're simply self-sufficient. They don't rely on external validation to feel worthy or complete. They enjoy their own company. They can entertain themselves, motivate themselves, and comfort themselves. This is what psychology calls low social dependency. It's a trait that often develops in people who have grown up learning to rely on their own mind for stability. When someone doesn't need constant validation or attention, they naturally drift away from circles where superficial interaction is the currency. They don't crave being part of a crowd. They don't need to post every moment or stay updated on someone's detail of every life. They build their own inner world, a place of hobbies, thoughts, creativity, memories, or ambitions. To outsiders, this looks like isolation, but to the person living it, it feels like freedom. Their standards for friendship are high because their mind is strong enough to stand alone. And then there's the factor many overlook: past experiences. People who struggle with friendships often have a history that taught them to be cautious. Maybe they were betrayed by someone they trusted deeply. Maybe their childhood was filled with unstable relationships. Maybe they let someone into their world only to be hurt in ways that left scars. Psychology calls this a trust threshold, a mental barrier built by the brain after repeated emotional harm. Once trust has been broken, the brain becomes protective. It observes longer, tests more, stays quiet until it feels safe. It doesn't open the door immediately. And because most people expect instant openness, those with high trust thresholds get labeled as distant, cold, or uninterested. But what they're really being is careful. They know the cost of trusting the wrong person. They've paid that cost before. So now they move slowly, deliberately, watching for consistency before they let anyone into their emotional space. When you combine all these traits, self-awareness, depth, sensitivity, independence, caution, you get someone who doesn't fit easily into most social circles, not because they lack social skills, but because they see the world differently. They think differently. They feel differently. They care differently. Their mind is built for deeper connection, not constant connection. And in a world where most people prefer noise over silence, speed over understanding, attention over authenticity, these individuals often walk alone for a while. But walking alone is not a weakness. It is a phase of awareness, a phase of growth, a phase of becoming. People with the strongest intuition, the sharpest minds, and the biggest hearts often spend seasons of their life in solitude, not because no one wants them, but because they refuse to shrink themselves just to fit into the wrong places. They are waiting for the few people who speak the same emotional language. And when they do find those rare connections, the friendships are deeper, stronger, and more meaningful than anything surface-level relationships can offer. So, if you're someone who has few friends, don't assume it means something is wrong with you. It might simply mean that your mind operates on a deeper frequency. You notice more, you feel more, you think more, you value more. You don't let just anyone into your world, and that is not a flaw. That is wisdom. That is intuition. That is emotional intelligence. You are not behind. You are not defective. You are simply selective, aware, and built for something more genuine than the world is used to offering. And if you want more psychology content that reveals the parts of your personality school never taught you to understand, make sure you stick around because the next video might uncover something about yourself that you've always felt but never had the words to describe.